I was sitting in traffic. So I was having a lot of time to contemplate and a lot of time just hating life. And I legit had these thoughts over and over again every single day where I was like, oh my goodness, is this what life is really like? Is this what you're supposed to do? Like, is this what adulting is? And I thought I just couldn't hack it. So I kept trying over and over again. And at some point I realized this is terrible. Like I had gained 50 pounds and I was just not happy. And my wife and brand new bride at the time was not happy with me either because I was working 80+ hour weeks.
Oh my goodness.
So I decided I have to have a conversation with my boss. So this is the part that ended up changing everything.
Okay.
He worked in another state actually. So I called him on the phone. He listened for 20, 30 minutes, asked a lot of questions, a lot of really great questions, carrying questions is what I'd say. And I thought, oh my goodness, why didn't I have this conversation a long time ago? And then what happened is 3 weeks later, he came into town and then he fired me. And
interesting.
yeah. So that took a very different turn than what I expected. But I would say to answer your earlier question really quick, wonderful, really positive thing that came out of that is on the way driving home after being fired, and realizing, oh crap, I brought my new bride down here and we don't even have a job to show for it. I took her away from her family and everything. And like, now I have to tell her, oh my goodness, I have to like call her and tell her. And it was pouring rain as it does in Portland sometimes. And I'm like, I can never, ever, ever, ever do this again. Like I have to figure out a way to take control of my career and figure out how to have something that's much more fulfilling that also earns quite a bit of money. And so that was the start, which became, a 25-year journey almost at this point, 20+ years to what has led to now. So there you go.
Do you feel that him firing you was actually a kindness? Or was it that he just knew you didn't want to work there?
At first I was really embarrassed, honestly, for so many different reasons. And I wasn't that old. Wasn't that mature necessarily. And so I was embarrassed and I felt like he had taken it out on me. And it's like, well, why
okay.
And that I don't think was reality. I think he was making what he felt was the best decision for the organization at the time, because I also wasn't performing very well because I hated it. Oh my goodness. Despised it. And I'm not somebody who can just like fake it at work necessarily. I have to actually feel great about my situation to perform wonderful as well.
Yeah, of course.
But here's the interesting part of that. Many years later, I ran into a number of people that I had worked with at the organization, and we started talking about it, and I ended up connecting with him and realized that he was actually very conflicted about that. He didn't really want to fire me, but my performance was so bad that he felt that he had to, and didn't really have another alternative at that point in time. Like that section of the organization that I was leading was not doing very well, and he felt like it was legit the right thing to do. So
yeah, that's why I asked that, because I think sometimes we always view getting fired as a negative thing, or that it's personal, but sometimes it's actually the right thing for us or for another person. If we're leading and we've got somebody in that position, letting them go is not always a bad thing. And as you're telling that story, it's reminding me of a couple of things. I have a book called The Focused Business.
Yeah.
And boy, I maybe because you said that you were a psychology nerd, I'm like feeling like I need to nerd out with you a little bit. But
let's do this.
Here's another superhero analogy. The book actually compares entrepreneurs to superheroes. And what I do is I say there are 7 supervillains that are trying to destroy you and your business. And I'm talking about real world things like marketing and customers, employees. So there are 2 things in your story that remind me of that. Number 1 is the concept of the bear. And the bear is a villain who is in a business. They're working in your business and they're creating messes everywhere that they go. And a lot of people have a really, really hard time letting go of that person when in fact it's better for them to let them go. It will help them be more successful. And the other thing is, as you're talking about standing in the rain in Portland and making that decision, that's an origin story right there, right? That's a pivotal moment. And one of the origin stories that applies, I'm talking about, the book talks about entrepreneurs, but I think it applies to other people as well, is adversity. You're faced with a terrible moment and it forces you to make a decision. This is the Iron Man story, right? He's trapped in a cave and he has to build the Iron Man suit to escape. It's the same thing. Like you were saying, I can't do this to my family. And that spurred you to create really the beginning part of the business that you have now, which is quite successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a big reason why I say that I'm thankful for it, because a lot of what happened later simply would not have happened had it not have that set of events.
If you liked this video and want to listen to the full episode, go to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to the Dave Crenshaw Success Project. You can also find all the full episodes at SuccessProject.Show.